Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Occult Think Tank. My name is Greg. In this video, I am going to talk about One for Israel and astrotheology. All of this came about because I actually watched some of the videos done by the YouTube channel called One for Israel. As that is being pushed in YouTube ads, the problem with this is it is really no different than Christian missionaries trying to convert Jews to their Jesus cult. This is in stark contrast for Jews for Judaism, which Mark Powers, who I interviewed multiple times, had been the director of at one time. I first want to point out the deceptive practices behind One for Israel. First of all, they pretend to be for Israel when they're not. They have absolutely no desire to teach Jewish ideas. Instead, they only want to push Christian dogma or Christian propaganda, Christian lies of Jesus being the Messiah. This type of person is actually talked about in the Bible. In Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. I find it interesting that that phrase is used regarding those that pretend to be Jews. They're of the synagogue of Satan. It's rather interesting given what I've said about Jesus being Lucifer. You may be wondering what blasphemies that I'm speaking about. Well, considering Jesus was called the Messiah when there are still wars, and the third temple was not built, and the whole world is not Jewish, that would constitute as blasphemy, calling Jesus the Messiah when he did none of the criteria for Messiah. Or calling Jesus, who was a man, God. That is clearly blasphemy, especially given it was made crystal clear that the only Savior is the Jewish God. This was stated in multiple places in the Old Testament, Jewish Bible, which any Jew should know. Isaiah 43:11. I, even I, am the Lord, and beside me there is no Savior. You simply can't make it any plainer than that. These Christians want to act like the only difference between Jews and Christians is Jesus, when that couldn't be any further from the truth. They want to act as if they can make up bullshit and call it Jewish, when it is nothing but Christian propaganda. It is the same lies that Christians have always done. Really, it's no different than how Christian apologists try to lie and shove their God into any gap that they can. I contend these people really don't believe in the Jewish God any more than they believe in any God. What they are about is pushing a narrative, which was a lie from the start. If the Bible was inspired by anything and not completely made up by man, then there could be something or someone that would take great offense to the distortions that Christians are doing. Remember, the only ones in the Bible that the God called his chosen people were the Jews. Plus Christians, Jesus was a Jew. The idea of a half-man, half-God is simply not a Jewish concept, but a Greek or pagan one. The New Testament is written in Greek, and Greek mythology has Hercules, who was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman. Could there be similarities to Jesus beyond the half-man, half-God idea? Perhaps. But that is possibly another video I could do on the half-man, half-God myths in pagan religions. But let's just be crystal clear. These concepts are pagan, not Jewish. You simply can't combine different cultures' ideas as if they are the same, when they are clearly not. just like the concept of an all-good God versus an all-evil God didn't come about until the 7th century from Zoroaster. It was Zoroaster that put forward the idea of an all-good God, Ahura Mazda, and an all-evil God, Ahriman. When the Old Testament or Jewish Bible, that God makes it quite clear that it is both good and evil, as well as sending an evil spirit and a lying spirit to people. There is simply no way you can make the Old Testament God a good figure. When it openly engaged in flooding the world, mass genocide, as well as advocating for genocide of rival tribes, plus giving an endorsement to slavery, along with rape, and actually having in the Bible a clause where a raped woman has to marry her rapist, plus infanticide, also called Passover. Let's just be crystal clear on that one more thing, or one more plague that God had in mind in Exodus. I could go on and on regarding the evils of the Old Testament God. But to put it simply, the God of the Old Testament is not a good figure. However, the dipshit that presented his stupid ideas to me as if they're some kind of golden nugget struck me as odd from the start. He appeared to be quoting from some book, yet he never cited the source. What first caught my eye was the odd way he spelled Jehovah. I first asked him who Jahveh was, as there are no J's in Hebrew. I didn't bother to tell him that the spelling of it was absolute shit, because the truth of the matter is most people fuck up the spelling in one way or another. I go back to the eSword Bible and look at it in the Strong's Concordance to make sure I'm getting things right. What really got my attention with this clown was how his entire case rests on how we see the zodiac today. Clearly this person does not realize there is a precession of the equinox, which causes constellations to look different over time. The symbolism we understand today as astrology would not have been how people thousands of years ago would have thought of it, which really tosses a major monkey wrench into his works. Another major monkey wrench in the Astrotheology works is when the 12 zodiac signs were first created. The creation of the zodiac was in 1894 BC in Babylon, which is interesting given Babylon was originally Sumer, with the Sumerian writings of the Anunnaki. However, Babylon is now called Iraq. Even though the concept of astrology would have been around, it was not viewed as we do today. For one, the positioning of stars would have been slightly different than we see them today. This means the symbolism applied to them would have also been different. Not to mention, in the Bible, astrology was put on par with magic, along with being in the realm of the devil. So you simply can't try and apply what would have been regarded as demonic or Jewish to Christian ideas thousands of years ago. I realize people want to ignore the discontinuity between modern ideas and ideas from thousands of years ago. But if you want to claim this had some special meaning, then that meaning would have had to apply to how people thousands of years ago would have seen it, not how we do today. What would far better fit the Isaiah 7 story is that the Jewish God was the Anunnaki Enlil. However, it is still not about the Messiah in any way. This was only about King Ahaz and his son, what Mark Powers called history, not prophecy. All that being said, I simply do not see any value in trying to apply zodiac symbols to ancient stories, as they simply wouldn't have seen them the way we do. This also seems to be riding the coattails of the astrotheology regarding the Jesus character and the 12 disciples, 12 constellations, the being born at the winter solstice, and so forth. But that is also going by modern perceptions, not how it would have been seen thousands of years ago. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Talk to you later, people.